Okay, so this is the big day, before the two big days, because this is Breeders' Cup pre-entry day. We're recording this on Wednesday. Breeders' Cup had their press conference, and they revealed the pre-entries for the 14 races. We're not going to go through every single one. We're going to save a little something for the Breeders' Cup preview show next week. The draw is on Monday, and then, of course, the big races are Friday and Saturday, October 31st and November 1st. I'll be out there starting Wednesday at Del Mar, so come say hello if you're going to be out there. Looking forward to it a bunch. This was one of the things I love about the Breeders' Cup, and one of the things that I'm constantly reminded every year is like how big of a deal this is internationally.
Right.
Because there are 207 total pre-entries for this year's Breeders' Cup, 58 from overseas. So you're talking like over 1 in 4 horses that are going to be running in the Breeders' Cup most likely are going to be based either in Europe or Japan. I just love. This is the only event that does this in racing. It's the only event that has successfully brought the world together in a championship weekend. And yeah, do I wish the TV schedule was a little less convoluted? Yeah, absolutely. Do I wish that they had said they're going to cut off CAW bettors with 2 minutes to post like Del Mar did and like Naira did? Yeah, absolutely. I think that was disappointing. Nevertheless, this is a remarkable assembly of horse talent for the 42nd Breeders' Cup. We'll go through it in a little bit more detail, but John, just give me your first blush reaction.
Well, I think you hit on all the key components, Joe, and again, as being on the inside of the Breeders' Cup board, they made conscious decision and enabled strategies to try to entice more and more horses from coming in outside of North America. And the results are there. Like you said, 1 in 4. And I did the math. I took my shoes off and actually did the math. You are correct. It's about 1 in 4, almost to the exact decimal of horses that are running in the Breeders' Cup.
I don't know about that. I'm pretty sure it's significantly more than 1 in 4. 1 in 4 would be 232, not 207. So
Right. Okay. Well, anyway, like I was trying to give you a compliment, but since you're dashing it away,
the calculator always working, bro. Calculator's always working.
Exactly. We'll have the green group audit the numbers at the end just to ensure that everything was done properly. But anyway, again, we digress as we will do. I was pleased to see the breadth of competition as far as the number of horses that are coming in. I was a little surprised on the other side of the ledger that there are hardly any races that are oversubscribed. And right. I seem to remember, up until even last year where, and I know this just from Nitrogen, where we were like biting our fingernails the 3 days or so before entries as to whether or not we'd actually get into the race itself. And then they drew, we were also eligible. We were sweating it again, but I don't remember seeing, maybe there was one race, Joe, that had an overflow right now. But pretty much if you paid the money for the pre-nom, which other stake races are known as just nominations. If you put the money up already, you're pretty much going to get your first choice as to where you're going to run. And we kicked it around a little bit. Should we go ahead and cross enter Nitrogen and of course nominate Nitrogen in both the Filly Mare Turf and the distaff? And we opted just to stick with, hey, we know where we're running her, so let's not play the games. And sure enough, it looks like that there's 14 horses in the distaff that are nominated. We'll see how many actually opt to run, once they look at the PPs and everything. But Joe, there's not one but 2 horses in the distaff pre-noms that are currently training in Japan.
There's a lot of Japanese involvement as well, and that just. Good time to tease. Next week, we're going to have our buddy Andrew Stewart from Arian Pedigrees on, our favorite Kiwi, next week. And he's going to help preview the international runners for the Breeders' Cup, as well as the Melbourne Cup, which is the Tuesday after the Breeders' Cup. So lots more international flavor coming on next week's show. But yeah, I noticed the same thing, especially the juvenile and the juvenile fillies.
Yeah.
Those 2 races, like the premier dirt races for 2-year-olds in this country, drew a combined 18 horses.
Right.
And one of the ones in the juvenile fillies has first preference in the fillies turf. So chances are we're going to have a max of 8 horses in the juvenile fillies and 9 in the juvenile. And like in the juvenile, I kind of understand it because Ted Noffey has been so unbelievably dominant and impressive. And then you also have Brant, who's the big figure horse, stretching out for Bob Baffert. So I kind of get why people aren't going for the juvenile. Why didn't other people do what we did in the juvenile fillies?
Right.
We're entering Super Corridora, who just had a big maiden win at Santa Anita not this past weekend, the weekend before. You know, she has to work Friday, and if she works well, then we're officially going to enter. But we pre-entered, and we were like worried about getting edged out, and then they were like, "No, it didn't oversubscribe." Only 8 horses most likely in that race, and we're super excited for her. She is live. She's going to be a price. She's probably going to be like 12-1 or so. So if you are betting, the deal with her is like, her first 2 races were nothing great, and then she broke out last time at Santa Anita. She was always a 2-turn filly. She was just kind of ahead in her development of where the races were carded.
Right.
So she was ready to go opening weekend at Del Mar, but the only race available for her was 5 furlongs. Right. And they had to ride the hair off of her just to like try to let her keep up. And then she ended up running 5th. She ran better second time out, second to Bottle of Rouge, who was in this race, but also that was 6.5, too short for her. So this is a filly that we've been wanting to get 2 turns. We actually entered her in a turf race just to go 2 turns. It ended up not filling. Finally got the opportunity at Santa Anita October 11th, and she ran awesome. Right. She turned back multiple challenges, navigated some traffic, just cantered in. So I think she's live if you're betting. Assuming we go, she's probably going to be 10 to 12-1 at least. And yeah, we were thrilled to see that the juvenile fillies only had those 9, most likely 8 horses in it. Other race that you have to mention and talk about is the Classic.
Yes.
And where this stacks up in terms of the Breeders' Cup Classics of all time, to me, my favorite, and I think the deepest one, was the 2004 Breeders' Cup at Lone Star, and that was when Ghost Zapper won. I mean, you look at that field, and you had Roses in May, Funny Side, Azeri, Pleasantly Perfect, Perfect Drift. Like those were star horses left and right. And the fact that Ghost Zapper won that race by 4 legs, shows you how freaking awesome he was. Yep. But since then, this has got to be the best one I've seen, because you not only have the trio of unbelievable 3-year-old Sovereignty and Journalism and Baeza, you not only have the 1-2 from last year's Breeders' Cup Classic in Sierra Leone and Fierceness coming in. You also have Mindframe. You also have Forever Young, Antiquarian, who's coming off a grade 1 win. Of course, the Rabbit and Contrary Thinking's in there. I'm sure that'll be no controversy whatsoever. But this is, John, this is where people are going to complain that it's early in the day. Listen, it's not their fault that NBC has college football that they want to show. Right. I get it. It sucks to have it in like the middle of the day if you're on the West Coast, but if you want anybody to actually see this race, it has to be where it is on the card, which is 325. Anyway, I've been rambling, John, but this Classic is really exciting.
No, the Classic is exciting, and the fact that it is going to be on NBC Sports is also exciting. Joe, this is nothing new. I mean, people are complaining about, hey, it's Halloween, I want to go trick-or-treating with my kids. So do it. Whatever. Right. The NBC doesn't really give a rat's ass if whether or not your kid gets an extra Tootsie Roll or not. They really don't care. And it's not anti-racing. It's not anti-betting. It's just Notre Dame football is going to, supersede a lot of sports. As far as so again, let's not be crazy about hey, I want to be out there trick or treating with my kids and I have to make a decision between the Classic. You know what? If you have to make a decision between watching the Distaff or the Classic or taking your kid trick or treating, there's a problem right there anyway that you should be asking yourself.
Also, just watch it on your phone.
Watch it on your phone. Exactly. The kid's not going to know. Come on. For the love of God. Anyway, but yeah, we're gonna. It's not that we're second fiddle to Notre Dame football. It's that everybody is second fiddle to Notre Dame football and the package that they put together, the TV package they put together. That's why Notre Dame is independent still, when they could be making buttloads of money by leeching on to one of these other conferences. Anyway, That being said, I'm really excited about the Classic. We've actually changed our flight so we can be there for the Distaff and the Classic to be able to watch it and then get out of Dodge, that night, because it is such an interesting race to me. Joe, you went over the big 3-year-olds and a couple of the older horses, and I think you glossed over a couple of them to give me a little bit of ammunition. But I love the fact that Sierra Leone and Forever Young are coming back. I love the fact that Todd's running locked in here against Mindframe and the other Rapoli horse as well. Fierceness. Thank you. I think that's awesome. I really enjoy the fact that they're putting their money where their mouths are as far as not pre-nominating and possibly running these horses. It's going to be a really great field. You've been especially, on the bandwagon about these 3-year-old colts and how awesome they've run. And you know what? They have a real puncher's chance. What I love is that, in my humble opinion, there's going to be 6 or 7 horses that you can legitimately point to and say, I think this horse can win. So the odds are going to be, really, really, favorable. You can kind of go odd shopping, compared to what you like. And that'll lead us into the CAW conversation, Joe, because there's going to be so much liquidity in the Saturday races, especially, that I think it's going to be less of a situation of, the horse that you like is in the gate at 5-1 and hits the wire first at 3-2. I don't think you're going to have that kind of situation again because of just the amount of money that's going to be poured into betting this race. And again, we talk about it time and time again, when you have big fields like this and across the board talent in these big fields, you're going to be able to at least dampen the enthusiasm and the importance of CAW monies going into this race.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been a nice gesture to say we're going to do the same thing that Del Mar already does. Like, yeah, I get it. You're not going to have the huge odds plunges that you normally would, but it happens at Keeneland in Grade 1 races, so they can move markets like in big pools. So yeah, and I don't know. Are they going to chase away the CAW bettors if they do this? Like they're still going to bet the Breeders' Cup, and they're banking on you still betting the Breeders' Cup despite this, which I will be obviously. But it's to me, honestly, with the way this year has gone, to me that's the bare minimum that you can do for regular horse players is to cut them off with 2 minutes to post in the win pool.
Right.
So it's definitely disappointing to see that they didn't. But going back to the races. The turf looks phenomenal.
Yep.
The distaff looks great. And I love that John said they changed their flight to see the Classic. Now, that sounds like, wow, what an ordeal. But let me clue you in on something. When you fly private, all that happens is the guy calls Len and says, hey, Mr. Green, when do you want to leave? And that's how you change your flight.
All right, it's not that easy. We also have to. No, it's not that. There's 2 things that have to happen. One is we have to call the pilot and say we're changing the flight by an extra hour, and then you miss the other important thing is we have to change catering at that point and explain to them that we need to have our cookies heated because it's going to be dessert as opposed to the pre-flight cookies. So don't talk about things you don't know, Joe. That pisses me off more than anything else.
Excuse me, we have a code red. We're going to need brunch or lunch instead of brunch, please. Stat.
Please make sure that the flight attendants are wearing the proper after dinner gloves as opposed to the pre-dinner gloves.
That's great.
Yes.
Oh man, that's a fun flight. I remember if you're a true fan of the show, you remember 2 years ago when we flew out there and we recorded the show from the plane. If you haven't seen that, you should go back. Yep. That was a fun one.
And if you also remember, Joe hasn't been on the plane since.
Whoops! What did I do wrong?
You're bitching about this. It's so easy. You just have to call the pilot. No.
I was on the plane for the Arkansas Derby, and the way I remember that is many ways. But one of the ways I remember that is the reason I brought this up was like there was turbulence going into like wherever we were going to fly, and the guy says to Len, "Where would you rather fly? Where do you want to go?" And I'm like, "Damn, man." That is some sweet, sweet setup right there. And the pilot just asked, "Where do you want to go today?"
The best part about the first flight you took with us, and Joe, I love you like a brother, and it's just, and I love busting on you and receiving shit back from you. But we get on the plane, and poor Joe from Brooklyn, who has never been on a flight, let alone a private flight,
stop,
gets on the plane and immediately. First of all, he pushes us all out of the way to get on the plane first. He jumps on the plane, takes a selfie of himself with sitting in the lounger with his feet up on Len's seat.
It doesn't have his name on it. Like you said, I'm from Brooklyn. I don't know that if I'm ever going to get on the private plane again. But thankfully, I was so charming that you let me back on, even though I put my feet up on the king's chair.
Oh my God. Good times. Good times, Joe. We've had some good times off aside from this show.
And don't you worry, I'll be back in 36A or whatever the fuck for my flight home. So you can throw up the deuces at me while you guys are flying out. But before we wrap this segment, unless you want to say something else.
Can I make you feel even worse? Can I make you feel even worse?
You could never.
Okay. So we have an extra seat on the plane going out there, and your friend of mine, Samantha Perry's going to take that seat. So
why would that make me feel worse?
Because
I love Sam.
Yeah, because we have an extra seat on the flight home. So if you wanted to leave right after the Classic, you could have that seat.
Oh, this is legally binding. This is on camera, on microphone.
Yep.
All right.
But we're leaving literally when the Classic is over and official. Boom! You're going to see puffs of smoke where my body used to be.
I'm supposed to take a red eye that night, actually, because we got horses running on Sunday.
Right.
So I'm going to have to see if that's refundable. If it is, I'll take you up on that. Anyway, one more thing I wanted to bring after all this fascinating flight logistics discussion that I'm sure
flight fodder.
All our listeners are glued to right now.
Why did our listenership end at exactly 19 minutes, Joe?
Those are the stats. And if not, we'll push them right out the door. Can we talk about the distaff?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, the race that I'm in. Yes.
This is to me, this is the centerpiece. Because we also have Intricate Spirit and Vava going, and we'll discuss those as well. But I want to talk about the distaff. I know they haven't drawn posts yet, but right. John, what's your reaction? Who do you think you got to get around?
Oh, well, my reaction is I'm so excited to be there and to be considered one of the top, 3 choices in the race, arguably. I think that Seismic Beauty is the horse to beat. But what I love with a capital L-U-V, love, is the fact that there's a lot of speed in the race, Joe. There's a lot of speed that's going to go out, hopefully with Seismic Beauty, and make her make a decision. Either they are going to have to go or they are not. And just like Yoda would say, go or go not, or how did he say it? What was it?
Do or do not. There is no try.
Do or do not. No. Yeah, exactly. And that's what they're going to have to make a decision, because there's going to be a buttload of speed, on their ass or in front of them, depending on how things go in the break. So I'm excited. Look, having a 3-year-old filly to run against older horses is daunting unto itself. No question about it. Trying to beat a filly on her home track, also daunting. The fact that Seismic Beauty basically has run a 95, 104, and 110 Beyer numbers, respectively, in her last 3 races, heavy duty ask for our homebred Nitrogen. But we're sending her out there. We feel like that she's at the top of her game right now. She also has a big breeze on Friday or Saturday, depending on weather. I'm happy to see how she does in this race, but she owes us nothing. She's run phenomenally well on the turf, in the dirt, and against some older fillies in the Spinster. And Joe, I would love to be able to say with a straight face that however she does in this race is gravy, but we want to win. Guys, of course. Listeners, I think we're going into this race because we really want to win it. And it would be great for my dad, especially. So if there are any racing gods or any karma that you can give us, positive karma you can give us, despite the fact that we're coming out on a private plane, I'd really appreciate it. So anyway, that's just for you, listener, not nobody else. Nobody else out of our 40,000 people who download the show every week. Or
light your prayer candles. For little Johnny.
Exactly. But the other thing, Joe, is that there's, I think, 3 other 3-year-old fillies that are pre-nommed in the race. And, the way that I'm handicapping the 3-year-old filly championship, one of those other 3 fillies would have to win and win dominantly, I think, to surpass us in the voting of my own mind. But there were a couple of horses like Good Cheer, Immersive, Lacara, that I can think of off the top of my head, where if they won the distaff, where you'd have to say, you know what, tip your hat to them. They beat us in the biggest stage of the year, and they deserve to be considered, ahead of us for the Eclipse. I don't see that in the 3-year-old fillies that are in this race, if I'm being honest. If they win, absolutely they should move up the ranks of where we are. But I think at this point in time, in Nitrogen's career. She's proven she's danced all the dances on 2 different surfaces, and she's proven, what she's worth, and probably one of the top, if not the top 3-year-old fillies, of her crop.
What do you think she's got to do to win the title? Run first, second, or third?
I think that she's got the inside track right now, Joe. I think that by running second and losing in a head bob in the spinster against older mares and doing what she's done all year. I mean, she's literally 2 photos away from being perfect this year. And I feel like that's a pretty good, body of work as far as the other 3-year-olds, because honestly, there's a couple of 3-year-olds. This year's talent of 3-year-olds is very dispersed. There's a couple of 3-year-olds that have won, 2 of the big races out of the year, but there wasn't anybody that you would point to and say, oh yeah, that filly won the Oaks, the Ashland, the Oaks, the Black Eyed Susan, and the Spinster. Like there's nobody that's an obvious pick. And honestly, other than a day after the Breeders' Cup, Friday, the Future Stars Friday, I think that you can say that about the majority of the Eclipse divisions. That it's very up in the air right now. I mean, 3-year-old colt of the year, like that's going to come down to the Classic.
I mean, Sovereignty has a pretty big leg ahead, I think.
Right. But what if Journalism wins?
If Journalism wins the Classic, then he would have a good argument.
What if Baeza wins by 5?
Then he would also have a good argument.
See, I think there's a lot of these divisions that are very up in the air, and isn't that what the Breeders' Cup is all about?
Exactly. Yes, it's to settle all that mess, and it's been there's very few divisions where there's like a standout. Like last year, Torpedo Anna was a lock to win the 3-year-old filly, no matter what happened in the Breeders' Cup.
Or Cogburn, who was the sprint. He didn't even run well in the Breeders' Cup, and he still got champion sprinter.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, you got a lot riding on these 14 races, and like I said, we'll break it all down more next week on our Breeders' Cup preview show featuring Andrew Stewart. So we'll go over the individual fields. Draws Monday, as I mentioned. But yeah, like this is kind of Tom Bellhouse says this at West Point. He's like, everybody loves the Derby. Everybody loves going to the Derby. This is the event for real horse racing lovers and handicappers. Like this is the one where everybody knows the Derby, but if you tell somebody about the Breeders' Cup, they're going to be like, the what? Right. And that sucks. We should have more exposure for it, but there is something cool about it, like being our event and our day to celebrate. That's like just mostly for us.
Yep. Yeah, no question about it. The only people who know about the Breeders' Cup that aren't in our industry are Notre Dame football fans, because they're like, what the hell is this on? I want to watch the kickoff.
Yeah. The biggest Breeders' Cup haters in the world probably are the Notre Dame football fans that missed the first 45 seconds when someone takes a while to load in the gate.
Right. Exactly.